There are so many lessons, stories we can take from this season. Today, we look at the importance of pause, of time standing still, of being in a moment of suspension. We can see this theme woven through different holidays of the season. During Hanukkah, oil that should have only fueled candles for one day lasts for 8. Time and its limits suspended, extended. In Kwanzaa, a time is taken to stop, reconnect, and recommit to shared values. In Solstice, the word solstice derives from the Latin solstitium, where sol is sun, and stit means stopped or stationary. So solstice etymologically means the sun stopping or pausing. We'll get back to that and land there in a minute. But first, we indulge in a deeply vital, expressive art form of our current cultural context, the trashy Christmas rom-com. Now, in the 2022 Netflix movie Falling for Christmas, Lindsay Lohan plays a hotel heiress. Is this familiar to anyone? Don't worry if it's not. The plot is not terribly difficult to decipher. Okay. Lindsay Lohan plays a hotel heiress who is a selfish, spoiled brat and gets engaged to a vain, unprincipled social media influencer. They get engaged while out attempting to ski, and the plot is truly unpredictable, and I hope to avoid any big spoiler alerts. Most of what I'll discuss happens in the opening scenes. Now, while on this ski attempt, dressed in outfits you can imagine without me describing, I think, but there are very fluffy and bright earmuffs and accompanying paraphernalia that is, of course, bright pink. Now, they're attempting to ski. They're not that great at it. And they get into an accident. And in Lindsay Lohan's accident, she winds up waking up, sort of, with amnesia, not knowing where she is or who she is. She is found, in a truly shocking twist of events, by a kind, moral widower owner of an inn who happens to be having financial problems as a result of the business practices of the hotel Lindsay is heir to. As a result of her amnesia, or to be more precise, what is portrayed as amnesia by Hollywood, Lindsay is able to come into a new adult consciousness. Just roll with me here for a second. Lindsay, suspended in time, is able to reorient her life to values and principles that were, in fact, instilled in her long ago by her mother. She remembers this when she looks at a snow globe. Not quite all at once in that epiphany, but she starts to come out of her amnesia and is actually able to begin making decisions differently and to live a very different kind of life. A life that is more aligned with values that most would consider good, honest, and just, that embody this Christmas spirit of love and goodwill. Suspended in time, gifted a moment of pause, removed, Lindsay Lohan's character is redeemed and reborn. And so too in this season is the sun. We're going to talk about the S-U-N, sun, today. After months of its presence in our sky decreasing its time with us in our northern hemisphere yesterday on the winter solstice, the sun began again to take more of our time in the sky, as opposed to decreasing amounts of it. Winter solstice marks the time when daylight, the sun's time, will once again be increasing. And what I find most fascinating about the solstice, most teaching, the deepest lesson that it holds for us in this time now, is just that etymological meaning we talked about before, that the sun stops. Now, we know that scientifically, the sun never really stops. It just looks like that to us, right? The Earth spins on an axis at 23.5 degrees north towards Polaris, also known as the pole star. Because of our tilt towards Polaris, the sun and every other star we see in our sky appear to move around Polaris at the center. On the winter solstice, the sun appears to stop its descent southward and begin its ascent northward. But for a moment, as it's coming down, the sun pauses for us, suspended in this moment of transition. Has anyone else felt moments of pause, of time being suspended? We might feel it sometimes in grief or in deep joy. I've felt it physically sometimes when literally jumping, right? Up and down. Anyone know what I'm talking about? When you're at the top, you can kind of hover for a moment. The 9 a.m. service gave us this life hack of when you're on an elevator, you can actually feel it a little more dramatically. In jumping, this is at least a real thing. Our bodies reach zero velocity or stop accelerating when we are at the top of our jump and have not yet begun to fall. And so we experience this feeling of suspension, of animated, elevated pause. Now, if you were one who were listening to your creaky back or hurting knees before in the meditation, you might not want to be jumping at home to feel it, right? But we can visualize and see this arch in many other ways, right? Through the throwing of a ball, we can watch a pause. Through reflection in our own life, we can pause. And now is a vital time of suspension for us as individuals and as a community. The winter, yes, is often a time of pause, of hibernation, of doing a big evaluation of our lives, of recommitting to our values, of assessing where our current life is and the difference between that and our dreams. A time for us to chart a new course or change our direction a bit. And this year in particular, a month away from an inauguration that is causing many of us anxiety, we are in a crucial and beautiful time of suspension. A gift of a moment when we know what is to come but are not there yet. A gift of time, of suspension, and opportunity to pause and hover, to reflect and dream and plan and turn towards those who we trust or who we long to build trust and power with, and convene together around tables to envision that world we will still be making happen. This time of pause, of suspension before action is so important. And sometimes, if y'all are like me, if there's something we're anxious about, we can sometimes just rush into it without being very thoughtful, right? I'm not the only one, I hope. Margaret Atwood reminds us here in our reading, The Gift of the Solstice. She says, "This is the solstice, the still point of the sun, its cusp and midnight, the year's threshold and unlocking, where the past lets go of and becomes the future. The place of caught breath, the door of a vanished house, left ajar." We have the opportunity to make the most of this moment of caught breath. The door of the house that has left ajar. And if the sun can pause and collect himself before picking up his northern ascent, so can we. Our future depends on our groundedness, the depth and breadth of our roots, our awareness, and also the wingspan and flight of our dreams, the strength of the relationships we foster in joy and in struggle, our trust and faith in one another and in ourselves. There is some serious work to do in this time of solstice suspension. We can reflect, be honest with ourselves, dream and plan what we are needing, and with vulnerability and love, share this with others. It's not easy work, but it's worthwhile, and I know we can do it. Because, little side note, we've already been doing it a little bit, so I know we can keep doing it. This is not easy to say that, this is not to say, that we cannot engage in some escapism. Right? A trashy rom-com made its way into our sermon this morning. So y'all know, there is a space for some escapism, right? Intentionally. And it can help us to be wide-eyed when we are needing to be wide-eyed. Suspended in time, even in a Christmas rom-com where character development is not a priority, Lindsay Lohan's character has significant, beautiful change from self-reflection. If a deeper grounding and clarity and commitment to values can happen in a trashy Christmas rom-com, thanks to a bit of suspension, so too can it happen for us. For those of you who need more clear direction and homework, here you go. Enjoy this moment of suspension for how often can we float without falling. Savor the moment of flight, for it will ground us in the year to come. Enjoy the freedom of sight and dreaming, for it will be the moonlit path that guides us along our way. All of these insights, dreams, and commitments you make during this time of suspension, write them down, draw them, place them on a physical totem. Put these on your altar or the mirror of your bathroom, in the cup holder of your car. Invite your insights and your dreams into your physical daily life. Lean into the suspension now. Distill its gifts somehow. Put it down on paper or in a physical embodiment, so that this gift of a moment can ground and guide us all in the future. We'll need it, and we'll need each other. Amen.